So this is the fourth time that I've tried to record this, so I'm going to try to keep it short. Um, a lot's been happening lately, both in the world and for me personally. I got an interview. We'll see how it goes. Um, got a new sister-in-law in the family, so that's good. And then, of course, on the other side of the coin, seems like the whole world went to crazy. That's actually why I've been silent for the past month. Just so much has been going on that I've been kind of out of it, to be honest. But I mean, even here, I'm losing the ability to speak. So I better not dwell on that, or else I won't get this video done. Anywho, let's focus on the reason that I'm making this video, which is my opinion on WWDC 2020. A lot's happened. Starting with the iOS 14, you've got widgets, and you can even have smart widgets that come up during the day. You've got the app library, which automatically organizes your apps, and then you can do a search and everything will appear in a nice list view. That I'm really looking forward to. Compact calls, which is really nice because I can't even count how many times I've had spam calls as of late. But at the same time, since I am in the job hunt, you never know. What if this is a recruiter? Well, I would like to wait and at least politely send them to voicemail. Just presume that, oh, I didn't hear my phone ring. But I'd still like to be able to do what I'm doing. So having this little pop-up versus a full screen covering is really going to be nice, I think. It's something that Android has had forever, and I know a lot of people are going to say that, but we have to be honest with ourselves. It's one thing to put the feature in. But it's another thing to put it in, properly as far as what you're expecting for your own user experience, right? You could put it in and all of a sudden have a lot of bugs, and Apple prides itself on ease of use. So best not to have any bugs. Picture-in-picture, you could watch videos on YouTube using the Safari YouTube, using YouTube on Safari. Excuse me. You could do this. You could do this on the iPad. Well, now you can do it on the iPhone. So that's going to be nice. Whether Google chooses to incorporate it into the YouTube app, I have no idea. So we got that picture-in-picture, messages. You get group photos. You've got pinned conversations. A lot of this sounds very much like, Facebook or Twitter. New animojis, which depict new styles, and especially relevant for this time that we're living in, masks. Maps. One of my favorite things that I'm looking forward to with maps is electric vehicle charging. The Tesla now has 4,000 miles on it, and of course we use the onboard computer when taking road trips. But it'll be nice for people that may not have Teslas to be able to plan using Apple Maps and be able to, it'll even take into account the weather. Not even Tesla does that. So that would be nice. One of the other things you can do with maps is cycling, and they even give you options to avoid taking your bike upstairs. In the event that I should have to move for work, I would really like to see about getting an electric bike. And I do not want to have to take that thing up the stairs, so that would be something I would definitely be making use of. Guides. If you're going to visit a new town, either for work or for play, you can go ahead and create your own travel guide. And in the case of maps, you can also do indoor maps, which is also fantastic because obviously, nobody's really traveling because of the situation going on right now. However, when we did travel more often, I myself would travel up to my summer house every year, as a lot of you know, some of you may not. Um, and sometimes I would be interested to see, okay, what are we looking at for the airport maps? And it was a 50-50 chance as to whether or not the airport you would be going to would be available as a map in the back of a magazine. And of course, they want you to do, airplane mode only. And you could use the onboard Wi-Fi for airplanes, but it airplane Wi-Fi stinks. So being able to download an airport map before you even leave the ground, and being able to take a look at it, or a museum, or anywhere that would take advantage of this technology, would be really nice. So you've also got Translate, which is really nice because right now I utilize Google Translate to do my translations, as well as the iTranslate app to do translations. And the reason I have both of them is because it actually kind of depends on the language. I was told by a friend of mine that sometimes Google Translate doesn't get the grammar correct. And I do talk to somebody from Brazil relatively often, so I don't want to end up screwing things up with them. So I do end up using both, but perhaps with the onboard translator, I can actually cut my subscription to iTranslate, save a couple of bucks a month, and not have to worry about it. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to as well, and especially because one of the items on my bucket list is to visit Japan, and it would be really cool to be able to navigate around using the translator in an offline mode, so I don't have to worry about using too much data from an international data plan. There's also, like I said, and I mentioned that because there's an on-device mode as well as a conversation mode, which is really, really going to be handy for navigating around foreign countries, or even just making new friends. You've also got favorite languages. This, I don't think, if this was in the keynote, I kind of missed it because the signal kept coming in and out the day that I watched it. In fact, the audio kept cutting in and out. I had to rewatch it later on. But it says here, attention mode, enlarge translated text and landscape view, making it easier to see and more effective for getting someone's attention. So it's really going to be handy to have that, I think. Siri, you've got a new compact design, which I'm honestly looking forward to. Again, much like the phone calls, it'd be nice to have a little, a compact interface, especially if you accidentally say the words H, S, and trigger something, especially if you're in the middle of something important. Or me too, going back to the phone calls. So oftentimes I will be in the middle of typing to somebody, I will get a phone call coming in and accidentally decline it. So that'll prevent me from doing that. So Siri and phone calls both, again, getting nice compact designs. Greater knowledge. Siri has over 20 times more knowledge than just 4 years ago. I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to see when that comes out. We'll see. Web answers, send audio messages. And then we get to HomeKit. One of the things is, like I said before, if I end up moving, it'd be nice to have some smart devices, particularly a doorbell camera that is compatible with the HomeKit standard, so that I can easily take a look and see who's at the door, and I could even allow for people that I know, because there's facial recognition, and there's also activity zones, so I won't get triggered from a UPS truck just driving by. And again, this is all hypothetical should I end up moving, but it would be nice to have. You can never have too much security. You can also take the lights in your home, if they are smart lamps, and adjust the temperature throughout the day. And I personally like that, because a lot of times when you get a single bulb, you're stuck with what you have. We don't have any smart bulbs. And I'm hoping one of these days to change that. Next, we get to Safari. You've got things like a privacy report built in, and Safari will even warn you if you have a password that is not secure. And I just like the way that Apple's being upfront and transparent about this stuff. Car keys and CarPlay. Excuse me. For those of you who have never actually owned a Tesla, your main key is through an app. Otherwise, Tesla gives you what is essentially a credit card for the Model 3 and Model Y. Model S, it gives you a little toy car-looking key fob. But again, your main key is primarily through the app, and from the app you can do things like grant remote access to people you know. Let's say you're away from home and you want somebody to move the car. You could do that. You could pre-cool the cabin, that sort of thing. And a lot of electric cars have this feature as well. Well, people looked at Tesla and they're thinking, this is really something we should implement. And so has Apple, because now they are implementing car keys. And the idea is that basically you will have the ability to store your car key in your wallet app. And you can even share your car key with a relative, like temporarily. So let's say if they don't want to spend the money on a rental and you only have the one car, you could leave your car, say, at the airport in short-term parking just prior to them arriving, and you could text them. This is hypothetical, okay? This is what I'm thinking based on what I've heard from the presentation. But I'm thinking you'd be able to text them your key. They would be able to temporarily put it into their wallet. And this way, like if you needed to go for some reason, say you had work obligations, but you didn't want them to be without a car, you park, you text them your car key, you leave, you go to work, and then when they get there, they don't have to worry about a rental car. You just tell them, hey, I parked on level 2, space 19. You're looking for a blue BMW 540i, and I specifically say that model because BMW is so far the first and only car company that's picked up on this. And they will have access to your BMW through your shared key and be able to take your car home. And there's something really cool here too. Tesla doesn't even have this. Works for up to 5 hours even after your iPhone battery runs out. Not even Tesla does that. In fact, Tesla in the manual says if your phone battery reaches below 20%, you may not even be able to use the key function. You may have to use the key card. So that's actually something really nice that I like. CarPlay, we don't have a vehicle with CarPlay. I've never used it, so I'm going to kind of skip over that. I will say one thing. I personally think that the wallpapers would be a bit distracting. I would prefer just the black background. AirPods. You can essentially what they're saying is bring surround sound to your AirPods Pro. And what that does is it uses the accelerometer on board to simulate like a movie theater, for example. And you also get battery notifications for your AirPods. New battery notifications conveniently let you know when your AirPods need to charge. Now, I don't know if this is specifically for AirPods and AirPods Pro, or if Apple's able to extend the technology, because I've got a pair of Beats Solo Pro headphones that have the same chip in them as the AirPods. So I'm wondering if maybe I'll be able to get some of this too. Probably not the surround sound, but the being able to get the battery notification, and also automatic switching. This is cool. So sometimes I'll switch between my iPhone and my iPad, and I have to manually select. And especially for the iPhone, it's complicated because sometimes it wants to transmit to my Apple TV. So I need to keep an eye on that, and I need to be careful as to which AirPlay menu I work with. Well, now there might not be a thing anymore because this is supposed to be automatic switching. And again, I don't know if it's going to come to my Solo Pro or not. I don't know if it's specifically going to require some chip that only the AirPods have. I hope not. It'd be nice to have that flexibility. So again, you have the audio sharing for Apple TV. Headphone accommodations, which allows your AirPod to adjust the audio to account for hearing difficulties. Now, I know one family member that would really like that. Up next, app clips. Okay, so app clips are like this. Let's say, for instance, you are, and we're going to go back to the EV example because I've seen a lot of, I do follow the automotive community relatively closely, and I've seen some videos where you drive up to an EV charger, non-Tesla, not a Tesla supercharger, okay, something else, like a EV Go or Electrify America, or in the case of Europe, Ionity, and you need to get the app for that particular charger. Well, let's say you only plan to visit that charger once, you don't want to have to worry about an app, you only want to pay one time. If that charger happens to incorporate one of these new app clips, you'll actually be able to get a taste of that app with the necessary info to pay for your charge without necessarily having to download the full app. However, it'll give you the option to do so if you want to. So I think that's really, really nice and could really help in terms of like if you're in a tight spot. And then they go on to talk about their commitment to privacy. You've got things like privacy information in the App Store, recording indicator. Now, the biggest thing in the privacy for me personally, this is awesome. I love signing with Apple, but I have too many third-party accounts that don't take advantage of it. Well, that's going to change in iOS 14 because app developers can actually take advantage of sign in with Apple for your existing accounts. If that works for things like Facebook and Gmail and Amazon, I am so going to do that. That is going to be totally, totally awesome. Now, that's just a sliver of what's coming to iOS 14, and a lot of this is going to be repeated in iOS, so we'll skip that. But let's take a look at the compatibility. iOS 14 is compatible with these devices: iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro, iPhone 11 Pro Max, iPhone XS, XS Max, XR, so that's me, 10, 8, 8 Plus, 7, 7 Plus, 6S, 6S Plus, iPhone SE first and second generation, and the iPod Touch 7th generation. You get anything older than that, it's time to upgrade. Next, we have iPadOS. Now, iPadOS, again, a lot of this stuff is going to be similar to iOS, so we're going to skip that because I've already gone over it. Again, widgets. Now, in terms of the files and new app design, they've actually been able to give us a new sidebar, and I like that because it's going to feel much like the macOS Finder in more apps. And it's going to feel more like the desktop version of Apple Music. It's really something that I'm looking forward to, is this more streamlined design. More robust searching capabilities. And again, compact calls. This is the biggest item, though. I've got an iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil. And what's really cool is, if I don't have let me give you an example. If I don't have my tactile keyboard, my physical keyboard, with me, and I have to put my iPad down on my lap and type on the glass key on the screen keyboard, that's not so much of a problem unless I'm on the move. And if I'm, say, on the move and in a position where I can't dictate, what do? There's no chair for me to stop and sit. I'm wandering around in an airport, so it's so loud. Hypothetically speaking, you're in this situation. You're wandering around an airport, it's so loud, and you can't. The dictation can't hear you very well. So what do? Well, that's where Scribble comes in. If you have an Apple Pencil, you can remove the pencil from your iPad and actually write in any text field. For those of you who are blind, think of it as a sort of a print cited version of the Forms mode in JAWS, where you can type in Braille in any edit field in grade 2, for example. That's what this is. This is that same sort of convenience. It's going to be totally, totally awesome. I am really looking forward to that. Also, being able to circle what you want to highlight. Because of my depth perception, sometimes I get things wrong in terms of what I want to highlight. So this is going to really, really help in terms of that. Smart selection, shape recognition. If you draw something and it looks a little bit wonky, the system can actually finish it for you, which is really cool. I can see a lot of applications for things like Affinity Designer. Augmented reality. the perfect way to visualize your experience, so on and so forth. They're going to be introducing ARKit 4 and the LiDAR scanner. My personal iPad Pro doesn't have the LiDAR scanner. It is the previous generation. But it's something I can definitely look forward to in coming devices. And again, we've talked about this before, messages and emojis, that sort of thing, maps. We've gone over that. Home. We've gone over that. One of the advantages of having it on the iPad, though, is a bigger screen. Safari again. AirPods. Siri, more compact Siri. Same privacy implementations. And now for the compatibility list. Now this is going to be interesting because I haven't taken a look at this yet for the iPad. So iPadOS 14 will be compatible with these devices. iPad Pro 12.9-inch 4th generation, iPad Pro 11-inch 2nd generation, iPad Pro 12.9-inch 3rd generation, iPad Pro 11-inch 1st generation. That's me. iPad Pro 12.9-inch 2nd generation, iPad Pro 12.9-inch 1st generation. That's also me. So I could go ahead and install iPadOS 14 on the older iPad Pro if I wanted to. It'll be interesting to see how it would run. iPad Pro 10.5-inch, 9.7-inch iPad Pro, iPad 7th, 6th, 5th generations, iPad Mini 5th generation, iPad Mini 4, iPad Air 3rd generation, and iPad Air 2. Anything older than that, you are done. You'll need to upgrade. Up next, watchOS 7. Some new watch faces, including a new extra large watch face, a new Pride Edition digital watch face, a Pride Edition California watch face, a Chronograph Pro watch face, the ability to take your photo gallery and turn that into a watch face, and I mean the whole gallery, not just a single picture, and the ability to share watch faces too. And we'll get to that in a moment. One app can now offer many complications, which I think is just great because it'll give you even more flexibility, because there are a few complications that I've wanted to add that I haven't been able to, so maybe that's going to change. One tap world clock. That's really going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. And as I said before, share watch faces. You can share them by texting, emailing, or posting a link online. So if somebody wants to use a watch face and they're not sure where to find it, or if they've created one, they want to share it with you, you can go ahead and send it to them, save them some trouble. They can also download from a web link. And you can find faces in the App Store. Really, really nice. Sleep app. So what's going on here is it will give you the option of setting up a routine before you go to bed. First of all, it'll tell you to go to bed in the first place. Then it'll give you a routine, like some gentle music or maybe waves or something, to help you fall asleep. Then, as you're asleep, it goes on, it tracks, does its thing. You wake up, and it'll wake you up to either to a nice gentle alarm or a silent alarm on your wrist. It'll give you your information as to how well you did, as well as your chart, much like a health chart, your sleep chart. So as I said, getting bedtime reminders, and then when you wake up in the morning, you could do something like have it give you the weather forecast, as well as your battery percentage, which is nice because if you wear it to sleep, it'll obviously drain some of your battery, so you want to go ahead and know how much you have to charge, when you need to charge when you first wake up. So that's going to be really helpful. They've added some things to fitness, dance workouts, core strength workouts. They've redesigned the fitness app to give you much more comprehensive data, and you can also share your data. And again, like I said, it'll give you more information. Cycling in maps. We go back to what Apple Maps is doing with the cycling. And if I did get that electric bike, again, hypothetical situation, if I did get that electric bike, I'd be able to both navigate and get my exercise out of the way all in one go. I mean, that would be really nice to have an exercise session both to and from work simply by getting there and getting back home. You can also search along a route if you need to pick me up, like a coffee break, or you need to take your bike to a shop for some reason, grab a bite to eat. You can also, as I mentioned before, have the app avoid stairs, which for me would be really nice because those bikes are heavy. Hand washing. Given the time that we now live in, we need to be extra careful, right? We don't want to get sick. I'm sure you know why. So the Apple Watch will now actually sense through its accelerometer as well as microphone when you're washing your hands, and it will actually give you guidance on how long you should be washing. If you stopped, it'll say keep going, and then when you're done, hey, you did a good job kind of thing. Siri updates on the Apple Watch. You can actually translate on your wrist into 10 languages, which I think is going to be awesome. I hope that includes an audible component. On-device dictation, Siri shortcuts is coming to the Apple Watch. Hearing health. So what that does is if you're listening to music, it'll actually take a look at your audio levels and see, hey, are you listening to your music too loud? And it'll actually, once again, much like the sleep, much like the health, it'll give you a hearing summary. Really, really nice there. WatchOS 7 compatibility, Series 5, 4, and 3. 4 is me. So anything lower than a 3, it is time to upgrade. Now, for my opinion, the biggest upgrade of this entire keynote is actually in 3 parts. First of all, macOS Big Sur. It showed you the compatibility list. I did not mean to do that just yet. We have features to go through first. Big Sur, first of all, they've completely redesigned the thing. They've made it more fluid in the sense that it's a family resemblance to iOS. They have squared off the icons, rounded edges. They've even brought over Control Center from iOS. Refresh dock. Control Center, like I said, Control Center for the Mac. You've now got that. Simply click on the clock and you are there. Safari. You've got some upgrades to Safari. Namely, you can do custom wallpapers. Opera's been able to do this for a while. Chrome, you've been able to do custom themes that have included wallpapers, but now Safari's on that bandwagon too. Really, really cool. Like I said, customizable start page. An improved tab design where you can actually hover your mouse over a tab and it'll give you a preview of the page. It'll be interesting to see how that's implemented for VoiceOver. You can also find Safari extensions in the App Store. I don't really use extensions, so I can't really speak to that. That built-in translation that's available in the app and on the watch is now available also in Safari. And much like on iOS and iPadOS, Safari on the Mac also lets you know if any saved passwords are insecure or have been compromised in a data breach, and it'll help you upgrade them. Privacy reports, same as iOS and iPadOS. Improved power and efficiency. 3 hours more streaming videos compared to Chrome, and up to 1 hour of browsing compared to Firefox. 50% faster on average for loading times. So that's Safari. Then we get messages. It's basically it gives you much of the same stuff that you've got on iOS and iPadOS. Inline replies, pinned conversations. You now get mentions as well. Group photos. You can add GIFs in if you'd like to do that. Memoji. And then you can also do message effects. And they've also done improvements to search in messages. It says find it, whatever it is, faster. Search now organizes your results into links and photos and highlights matching terms. Now, for those of you who are blind or wondering why am I not covering every single thing, it's because a lot of people are already doing that. So I figured I'd rather not rehash. I'd rather just go over what my thoughts are for the most part. Again, you have better designed apps, same sort of thing. Guides, planning your trip, indoor maps, like I mentioned earlier. Privacy and and then there's also privacy information on the App Store. They've also incorporated that into the Mac. And even more. Now, there is one little problem. For those of you who probably paused the video back at the beginning of this section, you probably saw the compatibility list. For those of you who did not or you cannot see, I'll go ahead and read the compatibility list to you now. MacBook 2015 and later, MacBook Air 2013 and later, MacBook Pro late 2013 and later, Mac Mini 2014 and later, iMac 2014 and later, iMac Pro 2017 and later, Mac Pro, 2013 and later. Now let's go back to the iMac 2014 and later. That is a problem because my Mac, and for those of you who can see some, I apologize for the size of the screenshot. I wanted to just include all the pertinent information and did not want my serial number to show up. But what I'm running is macOS Catalina 10.15.4. This is a iMac 21.5-inch late 2013. So I can't run Big Sur. Nope. No Big Sur for me. Not unless I upgrade. Hold the phone. Because I might just do that. For those of you who do not know, I've been tinkering a little bit off and on with developers, learning Swift. And I got to work in Swift Playgrounds. And then I started building a little bit on Xcode. I had to stop because Xcode got to the point where it would literally crash, stall, and when I tried to upgrade it, it literally wouldn't bother. It's like it tried to download stuff and it just stopped. And also, what's more is the rumor has been that Apple would someday incorporate their own personally designed chips, thus streamlining the developer process. And me, as somebody who would just be getting into Swift, it would be nice to not have to worry about compiling for multiple platforms. Well, guess what? Apple is doing just that. They've got a developer kit that's going to be going out, and it's going to be a Mac Mini, and it's going to have 16 gigs of RAM and a, was it 128 or 256 gig SSD, I believe. But that's not the beauty of it. The beauty of it is the processor on board. So here we have a screenshot of macOS Big Sur from the presentation, from the keynote on Monday at the time of this recording, June 22nd. I'm going to read this to you. macOS Big Sur version 11, Apple Development Platform, memory 16 gigs, serial number who cares, processor, Apple A12Z or Z, Bionic. That is the same processor in the current generation iPad Pro. My iPad Pro, being a 2018 model, runs the A12X. Now, the only difference between the X and the Z is the activation of a single graphics core. Okay? So the chip that is in my iPad is going to be in new Mac computers going forward. I'm really looking forward to this. I could see so many advantages. For one thing, as I mentioned before, uniform code base for developing, but also for the existing apps. They said during the keynote that all of the iPad and iPhone apps will run natively on the Mac without having to be recompiled, transferred, which means everything that I already use on the iPad and iPhone, I could go ahead and put on the Mac. It's totally awesome. I am looking forward to that so much. But again, we go back to that one caveat. My iMac won't run it. So I'm going to wait and see what happens. Rumor has it that Xcode might be coming to the iPad. If it does, then I may not be getting a Mac. But if it does not, then I may end up having a Mac on my wish list this holiday season. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. Okay? We're going to have to wait and see. But the potential for this is huge. And let's look at this. I mean, even Microsoft has developed their Office platform for this new Apple Silicon platform, and they demoed it in the keynote, and it was running beautifully. And I mean, this is going to be just totally awesome. I mean, we're going to have things like a fanless Mac. They may even be able to make the thing even thinner. Now, a lot of people are thinking, well, how thin is too thin? Well, I have to agree with you there. But at the same time, even so, if they can compact the space even more inside, then that could also mean bigger batteries, and with the additional power efficiency of, for example, the A12Z Bionic, we could have Mac computers with literally 24, maybe even 48-hour battery life. I'm probably being a bit optimistic on the 48 hours, but 24 hours might not be so much of a stretch. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. And speaking of Microsoft, they've already gotten into their own chips with the SQ1. And the problem with Microsoft is a lot of their apps crash because the emulator just hasn't really, no. So Apple has basically built in some technologies, namely it'll translate through Rosetta, which is the same technology they used when going from PowerPC to Intel. Now from going Intel to Apple, they're going to be using this package called Rosetta 2, which is going to actually translate the app as it's being installed, so it'll just run. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. But to me, the biggest takeaway from WWDC, iOS was big. iPadOS is going to be great. watchOS, looking forward to it. The big thing for me is macOS Big Sur, which incidentally is macOS version 11.0. We are no longer on macOS 10. So macOS Big Sur and the new chips. Excuse me. The new chips. I am really, really looking forward to seeing a Mac with this new hardware. I really am. I really am. Because as I said before, if I want to get into development, I'd like to be able to do so where I could develop once, just once, and have my app everywhere. iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, Mac, the whole gamut, all of it. And it would also be nice to have a singular maintenance base as well, in the sense that I could effectively, if I needed to tweak an app feature or something, I could do so, rather easily. And I do need a new system if I'm going to be going into development because, like I said, my iMac's just getting to the point where it doesn't want to run Xcode anymore. And let's be honest, this is a 5-year-old. So I've had the system for 5 years, but the system itself is a 7-year-old design. It's a late 2013, and it is now 2020. 7 years. It's got a mechanical hard drive that it's not failing, but it is slowing down. 5 years of constant use. What do you expect? So, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to, above all else, that new platform, the new architecture, and the possibilities that might bring. But what was your favorite feature of WWDC? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.